Welcome to Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge, a podcast for tech executives. We provide strategies and tactics to help executives succeed and further their career goals. With interviews from industry experts, leaders, and innovators, this show will surely get you on the edge of your seat with thought-provoking advice on how to stay ahead of the competition. Welcome to Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge, a podcast exploring the latest trends, strategies, and insights in technology leadership. We'll discuss the most important topics and ideas shaping the industry today, from emerging technologies to digital transformation and beyond. Join us to learn all of the juicy secrets of tech leaders, their biggest successes and failures on our quest for gaining that all-important technology edge. Are you ready? Let's get started. Our guest today is John Horner. John has over 20 years of experience in the software and technology consulting industry. Today, he spends most of his time helping customers understand the root of their business challenges and provides strategic consultation on accomplishing their goals and creating new opportunities. So welcome to the show, John.
Thanks, Mike.
So tell me about your company, Miles IT. What do you guys do?
Yeah, Miles IT, we really provide full service business technology consulting around managed services, software development, digital marketing, and we have a software as a service product called Striven.
Okay, tell me about that. What does it do?
Yeah, so it's really your your accounting, project management, task management, service management system all in one. So you probably have see many organizations that are running something like QuickBooks, and it just does part of what they're trying to do with their accounting system. But then they have a separate system like Salesforce for their CRM system, and then might be using a different project management system. So with 20 plus years of having customers coming to us and asking us to connect those dots, which always has some problems because they don't always connect well and causes problems. Probably over a decade ago, we decided to build our own software as a service. It's really that step up from QuickBooks and gives you the full service, accounting, project management, service management, HR, recruiting, and more.
Yeah, it's definitely a necessity. I do a lot of NetSuite development, and of course, NetSuite has these features you're talking about, but it also has like a full-fledged ERP system, inventory management system, and it's a lot of overkill for some companies. And at the same time, it's super expensive. So sounds like you filled a nice little necessary niche there, because I do get inquiries all the time, and I'll just tell people, quite honestly, it's going to be really expensive for you, and you're going to have it's going to have features you're just not going to use. So why pay for them?
It's exactly right. It's expensive and it's overkill in a lot of ways, and that's where we've come from both angles. With people coming from NetSuite because of both the cost and it's complicated to use, and coming up from lower end accounting system to really find something that's easy, really helps the organization be more efficient, and also has things like customer portals and vendor portals, and those things that that the higher end ERP systems provide.
Yeah, and it's just overkill for the smaller company. I mean, my wife a while back had a client who was seeking information on some kind of ERP system. And then after talking to their CEO, I actually recommended Zoho Inventory to them because it's almost as customizable as NetSuite, but a lot less daunting to use. Yeah. And so, they've been using that with like a WooCommerce connection, and they really like it. So, but so you mentioned that you like in your bio, we talk about how you help customers understand the root of their business challenges. So like, what's a typical type client that you work with?
Yeah, now typical client we work with, businesses really of all, all sizes, all industries, but our niche is in the small, mid-sized customers. A typical organization for us might have anywhere from 10 to several hundred, maybe a few thousand employees. And we work across industries as business technology experts. We really understand the business side of things, really emphasize that we understand the core, like you said, around inventory, around manufacturing, around healthcare and finance. We really are specialists in each of these areas so that we can work niche, but we can also then apply the different aspects of what they're doing in manufacturing and how can that help the healthcare industry. So, working across industries, but leveraging ways that technology can help. And technology of all, shapes and sizes, your mobile apps, your cloud services, your AI, your automation, your connections, your integrations, and a whole lot more.
Well, that's interesting. So like, do you manage a team of people yourself?
Yeah, so I right now have a team of consultants that work for me, and also have worked with our business analyst and project management team as well.
Do you have any struggles around like retaining your staff?
It's I'd say staff retention it's always important. It's always one of the top priorities in our list, and in terms of one, finding great people and keeping great people. It's a lot easier to keep a great person because they've been onboarded, but also who they are, their talents, their skills. Right. So we put a lot of emphasis in making sure that we can retain people. We've been one of the best places to work in the Philadelphia region and outside of that area for many years. And we have been lucky in retaining our great people. So yes, I see it's a struggle. It's something that we emphasize, but we've been fortunate that we've been able to keep our top people.
No, excellent. Because that's something I harp on with my clients a lot is, I teach tech executives how to regain work-life balance and, restore relationships in their life, that kind of thing, because they're, I experienced it myself when I was a CTO of, I'd work, 3 straight days without being at home. And I had younger children at the time, and, it was really difficult to do. But I learned a few tricks along the way. And I mean, one of the biggest, tricks, so to speak, is having a staff that, I always call them the tech army. It's having a staff that can, do battle for you and make decisions that you would make, but they make it on your behalf, and empowering them to do that. And then in the long term, if you think about it, if you had 10, let's say you had 10 people on your staff, if all of them, the average length of their stay at your company so far was a year, that'd be one mindset for you. If their average was like 10 years, suddenly, there's a different story there. They know you, they know your process, they know your company, they know what you will do, what you won't do. Why not let them make some of the decisions, right? Like, why must you always be the one that's on call for, hey, can we do this simple thing? Well, of course you can. Go ahead. I mean, it was one of the things that my CEO used to get on my case about, was that I empowered all of my staff, even my girl that answered the help desk. She was empowered to do a lot of things that help desk people wouldn't be empowered to do. But it's just silly, like bureaucracy of, here, let me open this ticket and send it to the CTO so he can approve the thing that I already know he's going to approve. It doesn't make any sense. And when I explained it to him that way, I said, be like, the marketing guy has a budget to place advertising, but he has to come to you every time he wants to spend that budget. That makes sense. It just takes that much longer to get the ad out. And in this case, it takes that much longer to please the customer. So, what are some typical, you enter an engagement, what are some typical problems that you face coming into an engagement with a new client?
Yeah. So, I mean, the number one thing that that I do and we do as an organization is we really need to understand the context of the problem, right? So, when we come in, we solve hard problems. We solve really difficult problems that relate to technology, that relate to business. And if the problems were easy, well, they wouldn't call us, right? They would be self-solved. So in order to come in and solve hard problems, you really, in a very short amount of time, you need to be able to understand what's driving the root of those problems. What have you already tried? What has failed? Why has it failed? What are the constraints that you're running into? What knowledge gaps are there that we can potentially fill so that we can solve these problems? And to me, that's it's the most important aspect of an engagement, and also the most difficult, is to really, really get to the root of what the business challenges are. And when I work with customers, the first thing that people come to you for is they say, I need a solution. I need a report. I need an accounting system. I need you to move me to the cloud. And that's important. You want to know, because why do people come to me with a solution? Because they've already thought through the problems. They've already tried things. They're already at the point where they know what the solution is. Yet I need to work backwards now. I need to understand, why is it that you need the report? Why is it that you need to move to the cloud? And with that, that's where I always try and get it at least one, maybe two levels beyond the technology. If you're telling me you need something technology, Why? Who is that helping? How is that helping quality of life? The value to the business. What is the ROI on that? Without using a technology term. And that to me is how you can quickly get to the root of some of those challenges.
Yeah, exploring the reason why they feel they need what they're saying they need is important, because I mean, clearly by bringing you on board, they're stating, well, we've decided we need X, but we don't know how to do X.
Yep.
That kind of tells you maybe they don't need X. It's a question that needs to be answered. I mean, I know like one of the interesting things, I do a lot of NetSuite development in my company, and I have 12 teams of NetSuite developers that work all the time. And one of the things that when NetSuite was bought by Oracle, one of the first things that they did was they realized that they weren't servicing their customers well. It was very typical for a customer to come to you and be like, been on NetSuite for a year and a half. I'm still not launched. I can't use it. Help. Well, their Oracle CEO said, we're going to do suite success, 100 days. You're going to start using, your phase 1 will be completed and you'll start using it. And we'll have phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4 to get you up and running. But the key, this to me was the key. Instead of selling the person on the software, they tried to disqualify them from the software. Let's find out if your business process fits what we do. And it just makes sense, because you may think you need NetSuite. You may have heard of your competitors are using NetSuite. Maybe it's not right for you. And I think that's what you're facing. Like, you come into a place and they're like, this is what we need. And you're like, are you sure? Let's find out. And I think I commend you for that, because a lot of consultants, they'll tell me, well, I was hired to implement X.
Yep.
Okay, but did you bother to see if the client needs X? Because if they don't need X, you didn't help them. You actually wasted their time and money. So I really appreciate some people like you who take the time to find out what the client needs. I mean, it's what I have to do as a business coach, right? They come to me and they have problems, and they always think, I've had clients tell me they're going to find a new job because they're working too many hours. And I say, well, what boundaries have you set? Do you tell people that you're off at this time on Friday because your son has Little League every Friday? No. Well, okay, then do you think that's going to change when you move to a new job? No, it isn't. They're going to still bug you. You're the problem, and you're just bringing that problem with you. Until you fix yourself, you don't fix the problem. So that's kind of interesting. So what would you say is like, can you relate to me like what you would say was your easiest engagement? And by easy, I mean smooth. I don't necessarily mean I went in there, I did these 2 things and I was done. Just like smoothest, like the client was real amenable, easy to work with, that kind of thing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, well, there's a lot in that world, because I'm fortunate that, while that first part of understanding the context, understanding the complexity is difficult. From there, once you really understand the problems that you're looking to solve, and I've got a big team behind me. Miles
Sure.
IT, we have 500 full-time employees, with all kinds of skills and specializations, and having the team behind you and understanding what the problems are means that once I get in there and understand the problem, it normally is pretty smooth from there. So a few recent engagements that we've had have been going into an organization that I'll talk about automation and AI for a second. So automation is it's obviously been something that's trending up because of a number of things. One, the lack of great workforce that's out there. So people are trying to find ways to be more efficient, gain more productivity within their organizations, because it's hard to hire outside help. So looking at a number of people that have come to us saying, I'd love to automate processes, right? And they don't know exactly what they need. So we get in there and we're able to identify what are the areas that are the low-hanging fruit. What areas are we going to have the biggest impact, the biggest bang for your buck that can be implemented quickly? Because there are some big things that, right, in 4 years you could revolutionize the way your business is, and we can help with those things. But you need to start somewhere. You need to crawl, then walk, then run. And by going in there and coming in, and we identified an area of the business where there was definitely going to have an impact. And then from there, they came up with 10 different use cases that we could potentially draw from automation, pick 2 of those, and then leverage some automation platforms in order to streamline things that were taking really weeks of man hours per month, and really turned it into a few hours. So a lot around automation, a lot around being able to come in and then don't stop to walk and run. So what happens is then we built the crawl, we built the automations, we made it so that we can help that area. And now we're looking at some of the bigger initiatives and taking those to the next steps. You need to have that rapid return on investment, ways to gain the efficiency, show some value quickly, and then build it from there.
Excellent. So then on the flip side, can you really, any situations where, you were brought in, you did that analysis, and then maybe the client was like, whoa, it's not what I wanted. Any difficulties like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's rare that it's not what I wanted, but there's a lot of times where we'll go in there and it's just unknown. I need help. And now I'll go to my, the big buzzword, right? AI is out there. And you mentioned it earlier, right? So, people come and they hear that their competitors are using NetSuite, or they hear that NetSuite's on the news. Well, that's what AI is right now. It's the hammer and everything is a nail. So they'll come and they'll say, okay, I'd love to leverage AI. How can I leverage AI? And it's literally going around a business with a hammer looking for nails. Well, that might not be your most impactful problem. That might not be the thing that you need to solve. It might not be the best tool for the problems that you have. So I'd say there definitely have been a number of cases earlier this year, and I'm sure there will be more where people say, I want AI. And it's the same thing where we've had people asking us for platforms. I'd like Salesforce to do this. Well, Salesforce, you could do it, but that's not the best solution. There's something better. You could just use, I think earlier, using it for a reporting tool, use a Power BI or use a Tableau to get what you need. That has nothing to do with Salesforce. Yes, Salesforce has some nice reports. So I think the areas where we get in there and we recognize that what is being asked for really isn't the right solution. It's because they heard a buzzword or because a competitor is doing it. And those are the ones, they're not bad engagements. It's just, we need to solve the right problem in the best way.
You need to provide some education there. And because that's actually really interesting, because in our business, we have an operations manager, and she's very shiny object syndrome driven. And it's probably our biggest challenge, my wife and I, in keeping her focused and not following the shiny object. Because, like, my gosh, I've noticed in like the last 6 months, most of the junk emails I get are advertising some kind of a tool that leverages AI in some way, shape, or form. I actually just found out that a community builder that I recommend to clients, Circle, they just added AI capabilities to help you write posts. And it's funny because it's one of the things I tell them, one of the things I teach my clients is to communicate better with upper management. And they're like, but Mike, I hate writing. I'm a terrible writer. Good. Then learn how to write a prompt in ChatGPT. It's going to get you a good draft. Then you can take that draft and make it your own, but use it for that. It's, unfortunately, I loved what you said. It's like going around the business looking for nails to hit with the hammer. And it is too. It's like, look, I just got this shiny new hammer. Let me go find some loose nails around the building and pound them in, exactly. Does it need it? Is it the best use of your time? Who knows, right?
Yeah. But it is important. It is important to know how to use the tools in your toolbox. If you never understand how to use AI and you never understand how to use these tools, then you're a one tool pony. And that's where I can see value in learning and understanding. But it doesn't solve all of life's problems.
I have a branding consultant that I worked with a few years back, and she's kind of jumping on the AI bandwagon, but more from the perspective of the prompt writing and how to get things out of there. I think that's going to be a huge thing for marketing people going forward, is how to craft the prompts so you get what you want out of the AI. But one of the things that she's been doing, in my opinion, kind of scary, is the negative side of it. Like, oh, look, the Google guy quit his job because he thinks, AI is dangerous. And this other guy over here says AI is dangerous. And this other one says people could be extinct because of AI. I'm sorry. I don't know where you stand on this issue, but to me, it's like climate change, Oh, we've seen a 1 degree change in the temperature. Oh, sound the alarm, I think that these things can be controlled. And so what I've been doing is to kind of temper that, is every once in a while, I'll post something about the positives of AI, because let's be real, anything can be turned into a negative. I mean, I remember back in the day when I first started doing software development, people would write code that was capturing things it wasn't supposed to capture. It would grab screenshots and, scrape the screen and So they were using the technology for bad. They weren't using it for good. It's happened, and that was 2 decades ago. So I'm sure you've seen the same thing. You know, we've kind of been, it seems like we've been around about the same amount of time. I think that people need to stop with the like sounding the alarm and just be careful and use things responsibly. It's like driving a car. You know, if you drive, I live in Las Vegas and the people here drive like maniacs. Quite literally, it's the going joke on social media groups here in Las Vegas about how terrible. I watched a guy on the weekend just literally stop at the red light. It was a red arrow, look both ways. There was no cars, and just went like it was a stop sign, but it's not a stop sign. Anyway, it's like you could kill people with a car, but if you use the car responsibly, it's a great tool, right? Well, same thing with AI. If you use it responsibly, it's a great tool. So what kind of automations are you putting together with AI? Like, if you could share.
So the idea is, as you mentioned, AI is it's gained a lot of attention. Things like the chat bots that you can interact with and send prompts is one area. But AI is not new, and AI is not just the chat bots. So for years we've been working with different kinds of AI, whether it be around data or be around images. I'll give you an example of a recent project that we did. It was around building an app that people could submit pictures to. It's a consumer-based app. You can submit pictures, and it had a lot of traction, and people were sending photos. And at first they thought, well, I wanted to review the photos to make sure that there's nothing inappropriate in those photos. Well, this, again, not new technology, but being able to leverage AI that could automatically detect anything that might be violent or inappropriate, flag those so that a human being could review them and mark them. So that's it's one area where we've leveraged AI. And then also the combination of AI tools. And I'll talk about the an example of something that I saw. There are some tools out there where you can literally draw a wireframe mock-up on a napkin, take a picture of it, and it will create a wireframe mock-up in an AI tool. I forget the name of the tool. And then there's a separate tool that you can leverage that you can take a wireframe mock-up and turn it into a full fidelity prototype. So you sit there and you think about these and the behind the scenes APIs and connections that right now I could manually draw a picture on a napkin. I could then take that napkin and send it to the one tool, and then I could download that and take that to the other tool. But now with a combination of connecting those dots, I can literally take a napkin and turn it into a full fidelity prototype in I'll say minutes, not seconds. You could do it in seconds, but you still need a little bit of configuration and tweaking work. So the combination of being able to, you mentioned marketing, being able to build some automation that I could see who you are. I could potentially look you up on LinkedIn. I could see what company you belong to. I could pull that information in, and then I could use that as a prompt to something like a ChatGPT. Pull that information in, and then leverage that as a marketing message that now is very personalized to the product I'm selling, to who you are as a person, to the company that you work for. You have all of this information at your disposal, and by connecting and automating these dots, much more impactful messaging than you ever could do, especially at scale, than without the automation and the AI.
I always say when people tell me AI is so brand new, I will say, have you ever heard of machine learning? And then they go, yeah, what does that have to do with anything? Well, what do you think AI is? It's just machine learning. I mean, it's really all it is. And I mean, I don't know. I think the quote dangers are people who don't bother to check what it says. Like I read an article about 2 weeks ago. Apparently an attorney was under the gun and needed to write a brief and had ChatGPT write the brief. Well, amusingly, ChatGPT made up some case law that didn't exist, and kind of got him in trouble. And as they should have. You got to read the stuff that it puts out. I've seen it too. Like I've used it for getting a draft of a blog post, and then I'll read through it and I'm like, that's not even close to true. But people just put that stuff out and they don't bother to check it. I think that's important. So
I was going to say, you actually brought up something that's interesting, because years ago, I was around when the internet started, and and what happens is, people were irresponsible with the internet. It's that, you went to a site and you believe that to be true, and it might be John Doe who's writing that out there and writing whatever they want. It doesn't mean it's true. AI, you just need to use with the same level of responsibility, which means now it's harder to do the research to figure out where's it coming from? Is this a real source? Is it valid? But it's an aggregation of many sources. So you can't just trust it as true fact, just like you couldn't trust the internet as true fact when that first emerged.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I remember like when websites would bury keywords that had nothing to do with their website, and they'd color it white, so it'd be the same color as the background and no one would see it. And the spiders back then weren't good enough to understand that they were stuffing keywords into the page. And then I remember a lot of those things. I mean, it's kind of I always find it interesting when I talk to somebody from the same era as me from technology work, because we have literally seen the growth of the internet from infancy stage. I tell people all the time, the first dynamic web application I ever wrote ran on Netscape 1.0. Yes, I said Netscape. And then people say, what's Netscape? And I tell them, Google it, find out. I do find it interesting that like Google, for instance, it's become like Coke. You go into a restaurant, you say, can I have a Coke? Well, then people say, like I just said, go Google it. It's really just go do your research. So what sent you down this pathway of helping other companies improve their business using technology?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really technology has always been an interest of mine, back from my original Texas Instruments computer through Commodore 64, and so I've always loved technology. But most of my early life, I was not at all in technology. I went to school for meteorology to predict the weather, and then really it just kept coming back to loving the problem solving aspect of figuring out, how can technology help? How can I take these, whether it be the Texas Instruments years ago to the mobile phones to now AI and automation. It's how can I solve real world problems? So I like that. That's what drives me, is figuring out how can I help a business thrive and have and support more people and grow their mission. And what's stopping them? What is it that is keeping that person up at night that they just don't know the answer to? And much of the time it has nothing to do with technology. And I love that too. I love just being able to use my experience and help solve a problem. But there's so many ways that technology can help. And more as I would delve in different domains and work in different areas, I always kept coming back to, well, here's a great, enormous toolbox that can solve a whole lot of problems. And as I gained skills and was able to really leverage that, it really has just grown and really has motivated me to continue to do this. And I'll be doing it many years to come, I'm sure.
That's interesting. It's fairly parallel to me. I mean, I like solving problems. I did coding for many, many years, and people would say, how can you stand it? And even when I was an executive, I would still get my fingers into the coding because I just enjoyed solving the problems. And it started to become a challenge. Like, can I solve this same problem with 10 lines of code instead of 50 lines of code, that kind of thing. And you challenge yourself a little bit. It's nice to see the client's face when you show them the solution. I mean, like, I'll never forget, it's where I learned a few tricks, so to speak. I had an executive team that had been burned by many tech people. And that was kind of a common thing, maybe early 2000s to the mid 2000s, was like people coming in saying they could do things that they had no clue how to really do, but they would sell you on it. And we had a desktop application. It was client server, and they wanted to expand across the country, but they didn't want to expand the data centers to different places. And so they had a group in Florida that was testing the software and like quite literally, to place an order, they could go to lunch and come back before the menu would load. I mean, it wasn't meant for that. I was meant for local. So I said, well, I could put it into .NET and, convert the whole application. It's going to be about $500,000 to do this. It's a huge program. We're not spending $500,000. And so then after I kept hearing the complaint, I knew that was the solution. So I just took the dispatch screen, which was essentially like this giant grid, and it was continually refreshing. It was the slowest aspect of the whole program. And I put a form in and I dropped a web control on it. And then I created a .NET dispatch screen and I put it out. I didn't say a word to anybody. And I started getting calls. What did you do? It's so fast. How come you didn't do this sooner? And I'm like, it's .NET, but I mean, I don't have the money to spend on it. Well, those executives, it changed their tune quick because instead of telling them what could be done, I showed them what could be done. And there's no arguing with that, right? Like it's there. The tangible results are in front of your face. Do you ever get clients like doubting your solutions that you're offering them, and how do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, the example you just gave is funny because it wasn't too long ago. It was probably a few months ago. I was talking to a customer and we were going through a number of options. They had a very manual process, literally yellow pads were part of it, paper and Excel. And you can just imagine that the process. And there was a lot of work to be done. And after describing solutions that we could put in place, the executive CEO, he says to me, "This isn't going to cost $1 million, is it?" And I looked at him and I honestly said, I said, only if we're successful, because the only way that you would ever invest $1 million is if you're seeing a heck of a lot more than that in your return on investment. I'm not going to start at that. And we're going to start a whole lot lower. Like you said, the dispatch screen, start really small, demonstrate value, and then it can grow. And you're only going to, and we have many customers that, that have invested, much more than that, only because you've demonstrated success and they keep finding more ways to add value. So typically start small, but demonstrating it, you nailed it. And then, the sky's the limit because there's so many ways to build it on there.
Interesting. Really interesting. I think like for me, when I do tech projects, it's always the money. That's always the issue. They're always very worried in it. And it kind of makes me sad because just to kind of compare to something, we adopted a dog about 2 months ago who was very clearly abused. And at first, that makes you feel bad. But then when you start to see like the tiniest reactions to certain things that are negative, and you say to yourself, wow, this poor dog really was badly abused. Well, it's the same thing with clients. They come to you and they're so adverse to what it's going to cost. And people think it's because they can't afford it, but no one's stupid. They're not going to call you to hire you if they thought you were going to do it for free, right? Yeah. The reason they're cautious about money is because so many people have essentially stolen money from them. They do projects, the thing doesn't work. It's not the solution that they need. I love the whole, that's why I say I learned a big lesson there. Prototypes are important. Showing people how something will work for them is really important. And I'm sure, as you know, from being software development, how many times do you present something to a client that they asked for, and then suddenly they open up their eyes to all the possibilities that application could do for them, right?
Yeah, you bring up a great point, which is that oftentimes, technologists see things through the eyes of technology, which creates a gap with the business, right? So I don't want to buy something that I don't understand. I don't want to buy something that is technology for the sake of technology. I don't need a new system. Nobody wants software. Nobody wants a system. They want their business to run better. I will pay for my business to run better. That's why employees pay for company, for employees. They pay for equipment because they understand directly how that is contributing to the business. If there's a gap in the understanding of how it's going to help the business, there's not going to be any investment. It's not that there's not the money, it's that there's a lack of understanding, or that there's a lack in actually what's being done to help the business. And that's why you really need to connect the business and the technology together.
Yeah, exactly. And showing them that the path that you're picking is going to lead to the result that they want is huge, because they've already spent money on other people who said that but didn't deliver. And
Trust me, just doesn't work. Yep.
Yeah. And you can't have them hope for the good result. You have to show them that I'm spending this money and I'm going to get a good result at the end. And honestly, I always get shocked by, I guess just because I'm not the type of person who would rip someone off, I always get shocked when I hear these stories too. Like, why are you so hesitant? Let's talk about this. And then they'll say, well, to be real, our CEO worked with this guy and the guy did this, and then he promised this, and then he just disappeared and he took our money.
still see it a lot. I mean, we come in and unfortunately need to help those companies out that may have decided to go overseas and hire someone at a very low cost, or hired someone that had a different job and just, like you said, disappeared or couldn't get it done. So there's still a lot of risk when trying to do big things with very low budgets. You often get what you pay for in those cases.
When it's a big, I mean, I'm a big proponent of outsourcing, things if you need to. But I also think that what companies lack when they outsource is a technical person with some knowledge who can manage that offshoring. Because, I mean, it's a risk when if you hire somebody in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they could just disappear one day, and you're stuck holding the bag. And so I always advise my clients to have a process in place where all the deliverables are provided to them on a regular basis, so that there never is. I can't tell you how many projects I've gotten where they say, well, there used to be code for this, but they kept it. And like, what? You paid for that one.
Really need
why didn't you grab it?
Exceptional management, management, especially any kind of distributed team, especially overseas, especially people that are not part of your organization. So it just layers on difficulty. And if that's hidden to your customers, and now you're not managing it well, that's where some of those problems can occur.
Well, this has been a crazy good conversation. Can you let my listeners know where they can find you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's simple. Just go to milesit.com and feel free to peruse and contact us. Happy to help out in any way I can.
Love it. That's always so easy. It's the form, fill it out and hit submit.
You got it.
Well, thanks so much for being on. Really appreciate it. You've given some really valuable insight into, tech consulting just in general. And, I highly recommend, just based off of what John said about his approach, if you need some help, reach out, because clearly they do it the right way, in my opinion. So anyway, thanks for tuning in to Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge. We hope you've had a great time with us, learning everything you need to know to stay ahead of the technology curve. Remember though, be curious, be updated on all the latest trends, and show them who's the boss. So until next time, we'll be back with plenty more techie tips and tricks so you can stay on top of your game.